Okay. Yep. Real quick, let me just pull up my notes for Hazbin.
Okay.
All right. So, so Hazbin Hotel was originally an independent animated pilot that dropped on YouTube back in 2020, I believe. And
2019.
oh, 2019, excuse me. So the series is basically set in hell, and in this interpretation of the story, so the first two humans, Adam and Lilith, were the first two humans in existence, and because Lilith didn't want to submit to Adam's will because controlling dude, Lucifer went down to Earth and fell in love with her, and they were the ones who gifted Eve the apple that gave her the gift of knowledge and thus introduced evil out into the world. So because of that, heaven they cast Lucifer and Lilith back and down into hell. So the series follows Charlie Morningstar, who is Lucifer's daughter, who's is setting about on this impossible dream of rehabilitating sinners through the Hazbin Hotel in order to redeem evil souls and potentially get them into heaven. Because in this world, heaven goes down to hell once a year, where they just slaughter and genocide everybody there.
Okay.
All right, and so the pilot came out in 2019, and you have our cast of characters with in this with Erica Henningsen, who is the voice of Princess Charlie Morningstar. You have Stephanie Beatriz, who is her girlfriend Vaggie. You have a great supporting cast with Blake Roman, who plays Angel Dust, who is a porn star who's living at the hotel. You have Keith David, who is the surly bartender Husk. Kimiko Glenn, who is the hotel's kind of psychopathic hotel mate, and Amir Talai, who plays Alistair the radio demon, who is probably one of the coolest characters on the show because is just very brief glimpses. He is probably the most powerful character on the show because this plays with a lot of different tropes into it. And so what works about this show so well is, one, you have an incredible animation style. It kind of reminded me a lot of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. You have a great sense of humor. It is very very raunchy. It is very juvenile. It borders on that isn't it funny that these cartoons are saying the word fuck a lot, and that is very sexually explicit. It's very raunchy. It plays with themes of homosexuality, with the concept of redemption, with with the idea of what does it mean for a soul to be redeemed, and what does it take for somebody to be considered good. Because one of the main villains of this season is Adam, the first man, who is played here as just the absolute worst dude bro you can possibly imagine.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
And another thing that works really well is that the show is a musical, and every episode is perfectly paced out. Every episode is only about like 25 minutes, and you get two solid musical numbers in this. And what you always say with a musical, the biggest thing is, every single number contributes to the story. It helps move the plot along. It does a good job at developing characters, and also the music in here fucking slaps. It is awesome.
Yeah. So it's the music would be like a soundtrack you would listen to like an Apple Music, Spotify, something like that.
Oh, dude, I binge watched the show last Saturday, and I've like rewatched it a bunch of times. I've listened to the soundtrack every day in the car since I've heard it for the first time. Every single one it's very much in that earworm. It's catchy. It's just great songs, great instrumentals, and great lyricism and great wordplay in it. And all the music in here is composed by excuse me, I'm trying to looking up the names of the composers in here. So it's composed by
Sam Hoff.
Yeah, Sam Hoff and
Andrew Underberger,
yeah,
Evan Algerie,
mm-hmm.
Gooseworks.
Mhm,
Thomas Ryan and Perry Grip, and they did the pilot there.
mhm. Yeah, they did the original pilot, and they brought them back for the show proper. And every episode, I think, has fantastic musical numbers. You could probably pick any one of them off of the soundtrack for this and call it your favorite, and I wouldn't really have an argument.
Mm. So what type of music is it? Is it like very Broadway
Mhm.
music, very show tunes type stuff? Is
The
it
the series has a great mix of very different kinds of music. It has that initial very one of the first opening numbers is "Happy Day in Hell," which is kind of a parody of like the opening song of a Disney film. And it helps that that it's sung by Erica Henningsen, who has very much that kind of Disney princess voice. She played Katie in the original Broadway run of Mean Girls.
mm, okay.
And yeah,
Oh,
her voice it is outstanding. You also have, you also have hard rock numbers, which is more reserved for Adam's character. You have uh Broadway and kind of swing inspired numbers with Stay Gone and Hell's Greatest Dad. And
uh,
you kind of have very bluesy numbers in here as well, with also that kind of epic feeling of theatricality that comes with Broadway.
so I have Hell's Greatest Dad right here. Let me play a little bit of this. I won't
Yeah,
play too much.
and this show probably has one of my favorite interpretations of Lucifer Morningstar because when you hear the story of Lucifer, you kind of picture this much more a sinister character. But in this show, he's played as kind of an insecure, dorky dad who is very estranged from his daughter.
And then which one is Lucifer in this?
Lucifer is the guy in white.
Okay, is this white?
Alistair is the radio demon who's on the other side, who has one of the coolest effects for his voice because it's kind of like modulated in that old timey radio.
Okay, let me see. Let me play a little bit of here.
All right then. Looks like you could use some help from the big boss of hell himself. Check out Daddy's glowing reviews on Yelp. 5-star, flawless, really great. With a punch of a pentagram, a whack, bam, boom, I like Kazam. Usually I charge a sacrificial lamb, but you get the family rate. Thanks, Dad. Who needs a busboy now that you got the chef?
Okay, that sounds pretty good. It sounds
Mhm.
pretty upbeat, pretty
Yeah, it's
snazzy.
yeah, you have numbers that are very upbeat and very snazzy, but you also go to numbers like whatever it takes and more than anything that are very much going into that kind of 80s power ballad or love songs, and they also hit just as hard.
Hmm. Okay.
Especially when because uh, with me, a musical number, it can't just be, okay, let's have a musical number here. Every single number here, it always is used to build and develop character relationships. Like one of my favorite numbers in this was a Loser Baby with which is episode 4 Masquerade, which is the one that's focused on Angel Dust, which is the porn star character. And that is probably the darkest episode of the season because it focuses on this abusive relationship that he has with this overlord named Valentino.
Mm. So with this show, being animated, doing this musical type thing, also with the kind of the violence that you see in it, the cursing that you see in it. Who is the target demographic here? Who should be primarily who you think is aimed towards and who should be watching it, you think?
Well, I think this show is kind of aimed towards very much that kind of more musically inclined side to shows like to social media apps like TikTok. It's very much marketed towards the theater kids, to the goth kids. But I feel like the music in this is good enough, and the story here, the story and the writing here is strong enough that I'm kind of have my feet in both of those camps, and I still enjoy this. I've recommended it to like 3 or 4 people since I saw the show, and they've come back to me with like, yeah, that shit was awesome.
Yeah, it's only 8 episodes.
Yeah,
Here's the
it's
series.
8 25-minute episodes.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
so
all every episode's perfectly paced. And the show kind of has, built-in marketing with every episode featuring 2 essentially music videos that Amazon's releasing on their YouTube channel. And
yeah,
that's only generating more hype for the show.
yeah, and it's 9 included if you include the pilot. It is 9.
Mhm.
There. And so I know there was kind of like the show kind of blown up a little bit with controversy,
Mhm.
with the whole Satan element of it, the hell element, converting kids to the devil or some shit like that.
Oh, for that, I say they need to watch episode 6 of the show and listen to the number you didn't know. Because
Mm,
episode 6 is all about that. It is an episode where Charlie and her girlfriend Vaggie go up into heaven to try and plead their case to the Council of Angels with the head seraphim. And it is a discussion about even the angels in the show don't know what it takes to get somebody into heaven. They are very much, this show is very similar in concept to something like The Good Place, where it is exploring that whole idea of the afterlife. And okay, so if hell exists, then isn't then it's also just cruel, and then because it's final, it doesn't give people a shot at redemption, which with that added element of the annual extermination, that adds to that cruelty.
mhm. Okay. What about the creator of this? What do you know about her?
Vivian yeah, the show is created and written by Vivian Madrano, who is an American animator on YouTube who's goes by Vivzy Pop. I know that she does a lot of independent adult animated content on YouTube. Like the original title of this, there was a web series she did called "Hell of a Boss" and another web comic called "Zoophobia."
Hmm, okay. And this is by far the biggest thing she's done so far.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one that that after 4 or so years, then it was at 4 years ago, she made the pilot. She released it on YouTube. It was made entirely by freelance animators, and it was pretty much financed by her Patreon supporters. And then it took 4 years for it to go to series and have its premiere on Amazon.
Nice. And this is also 824. I
Mm.
saw that kind of logo pop up. They're getting more into television now. They did Beef on Netflix. Now they're making this, distributing this. And I think is this the first cartoon for 824? Maybe so. Cartoon.
I think so, unless you count Marcel the Shell with Shoes on.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you count that one. I think this is like their first animated series that they've done. Oh, they also had a series called she's also doing another spin-off series called Hell of a Boss.
Hmm.
Also, her have you know about that?
Yeah, that's a web series that she did that was kind of her claim to fame. I think before uh, okay, so it's revealed its first season in October 2020, almost 1 year after it released its own pilot. So Hell of a Boss is a show that takes place in the same universe as Hazbin Hotel, and and it's more focusing on the characters that already exist.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it has a completely different cast of characters in it than Hazbin.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, coming you think that this is kind of fits in line with all the 824 kind of stuff there, very weird, very out there. You know, very kind of challenging the audience, you would say?
Hmm. I believe so. I think the show kind of dances those lines of very weird, very high concept, talking about subjects that are going to make certain sides of the political aisle very uncomfortable, but it does it in a way that never really feels pandering.
Yeah. And I see here, it says here, this is on Wikipedia, it says it was revealed that Hotel is the largest global debut for a new animated series on Prime Video. That's pretty impressive.
I Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is kind of an incredible thing considering the very humble beginnings that this show had with the pilot dropping on YouTube 4 years ago. And I think large part of that is having having backers like Amazon Prime and A24, and also the very much built-in marketing scheme that you have with the show, essentially highlighting two musical numbers per episode.
Yeah. So with this show, you think, you talked about a little bit about, kind of maybe some similar concept to something like The Good Place, and The Good Place,
Mhm,
talks a lot about philosophy, religion. Do you think
mhm.
this show is also like that, where it kind of is critiquing religion, has kind of a commentary on religion,
It, it's
good,
let
bad?
It's less a I think it's less a commentary on the the practice of religion and more about a look at the follies of organized religion, about how you can have a character like Adam who is this awful of a person who takes glee and joy in slaughtering the human souls in hell once a year and is fits all of the stereotypes of a misogynist doom bro, and how can he remain in heaven?
So I must have missed it. Where is Eve in this? Is she just
Eve is not really mentioned in this. The biggest character that has a connection is Lilith, who is missing at the start of the original pilot and is very much a mystery as about where she has gone. And that also ties into the character of Alistair that I think is going to come into play in later seasons of this show.
and season 2 has been greenlit there. And when is season 2? Is there any announcement that's coming out there?
So season 2 of this, they announced that the show's been renewed for a second season, but it's animation takes a long time, especially when it looks this good.
Yeah. Voice performance, like you said, pretty good there
Ooh,
too. Yeah.
outstanding, not just with the musical numbers, which with a cast like this, with Erica Henningsen, who is a well-known Broadway actress, Stephanie Beatriz, who plays her girlfriend Vaggie in this, she is amazing. Alex Brightman, who plays Adam in this, he has a fantastic number. Keith David and Blake Roman have my favorite number of the season with Loser Baby. You also have some Broadway royalty in this with with Daphne Rubin Vega, who was in the Heights, who was in Rent. She plays an overlord named Carmilla in this. Jeremy Jordan, who's always also been on Broadway. He was also Win Shot on Supergirl, and and Darren Criss, who was on Glee. He plays Saint Peter in this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. That guy who is basically Supergirl's Jimmy Olsen in that
Mhm.
movie, basically. Okay. Yeah, I do remember him there. Okay. Interesting turn as him as Lucifer. Is most of the people on CW, are they a lot of them former do
A
they just
lot,
go to Broadway and just snatch up like, oh, hey, let's
a
just
lot,
grab you?
a lot of them were musical people that kind of just got snatched up by the CW.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, because that's the same Grant Gustin, I think isn't also the Melissa Benoist, isn't she
Yeah,
also?
Melissa Benoist, she was on Glee as well. She's also been on Broadway.
Yeah. Okay. So final thoughts and rating for
Final final thoughts. I had heard so much hype about the show, how it was very raunchy, very a good musical. And what really stood out to me was the moments between characters, how the show uses those musical numbers to build those dynamics between them. And some of my favorite moments in this are just when characters are interacting outside of the musical numbers. Again, you have a great looking animation style. It feels very Tim Burton esque, but also doing its own thing, which is kind of a critique I had about Lisa Frankenstein that I also saw this past weekend. And also, the musical segments, they are goddamn earworms. I've been playing them nonstop in my car this last entire week heading to work. I dug the absolute hell out of this show. I got to give this a solid peak.
wow. So a peek from Nick for Has Been Hotel. Can't wait for season 2 of the show on Amazon Prime. All right there. Awesome stuff. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna be heading into our next review there. Thank you, Nick, for
Mm,
doing that one.
thank you. Happy to do it.